Pakistan, my favorite subject. 2 years ago, I didn't have any of this gray hair. This gray hair is compliments of the land of the pure. All right, so I'm going to make a lexical appeal. I want to argue that we don't use the word terrorist when we're talking about organizations based in and from Pakistan. I'm going to argue that we call them what they are, and they're state proxies. The implications of this switch is very, very important. When we say terrorists, it implies organizations that have some ability to operate without state support. And the organizations that I think we're mostly concerned about from an international security point of view are groups like the Afghan Taliban, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba with its various name changes, Jamaat al-Dawa, Falah and Saniyat Foundation. These are state proxies. They operate with the state support. They basically act as extensions or tools of statecraft. Even the Pakistan Taliban are proxies gone wild. There would be no Pakistan Taliban if there were no Afghan Taliban, no Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, or Jaish-e-Mohammed. When we call them terrorists, we give Pakistan wiggle room and plausible deniability. So with that, I'm going to perhaps address a larger question. Why does Pakistan continue to do this, given that it is experiencing significant blowback in the form of the TTP? And we can also have a discussion about what ISIS or Daesh is doing in Pakistan. Well, it's actually really quite simple. First, it works. Why does it work? No matter how good India's, or for that matter, Afghanistan's counterintelligence, counterinsurgency, counterterrorism capabilities are, it's impossible to stop every cell that is intent upon doing harm. It's just impossible. Whether they kill 2 or whether they kill 200, it produces results. And what are these results that I'm talking about? Well, first, countries such as my own will say ridiculous things like we encourage India and Pakistan to resolve all outstanding disputes. There are no outstanding disputes. There are disputes that Pakistan makes. This is a false equivalency that much of the international community imposes, and that rewards Pakistan. Sometimes we'll even get Kashmir plastered on various newspapers and headlines saying Kashmir's most dangerous place on earth. Well, it's the most dangerous place on earth because of Pakistan's proxies. So when the international community responds in this way, we give Pakistan exactly that which it wants. When it imposes this false equivalency upon India and Pakistan, Pakistan can then say to its own domestic polity, look, the international community agrees with us. I mean, Pakistan, in many ways, is like North Korea in the sense that these preposterous myths are passed off as fact. The difference is that Pakistan isn't North Korea. It's constantly impinged upon these things called reality and fact, but the Pakistan military has been very effective at essentially brainwashing its population. It also works because it's cheap. So Pakistan's, and I'm also cognizant that I'm sitting in India, much of Pakistan's defense budget is complementary to my country's nonsensical policies towards this rogue state. But take the number as it is, $7 billion. Operating budget of Lashkar-e-Taiba is $100 million. And it probably doesn't need all of that money from the state. So this is a drop in the bucket. Also, we grant Pakistan this notion of plausible deniability because of the way we talk about these groups. And perhaps what makes me the most angry is that Pakistan monetizes the insecurity that it creates. It says to the United States, oh, we need coalition support funds to combat the terrorists that whisper we actually created. But the United States never says to Pakistan, fine, we'll pay you this money, but we need you to stop producing terrorists in the first place. So in fact, the more plausibly deniable it is, the harder Pakistan says it is to go after these groups, the higher price it extorts from my government. And then finally, the fact that jihad, or whatever we want to call these groups, proxies, operate under Pakistan's nuclear umbrella, which my country is subsidizing the expansion of, the reality is that Pakistan is engaging in nuclear coercion, not only against India, but also against my country. Because it's the very fear of state collapse, by the way, I think it's very unlikely. Pakistan is the most stable instability. But they monetize that fear. Because the Americans think, well, if we take away our paycheck, we won't have influence, and then the Islamist barbarians, the nuclear gate, and these scenarios play out. So Pakistan creates a fear, which it then monetizes. This is why it does what it does. It is cheap, it is effective, and it bears no costs of its behavior in a way that is straightforward. So if we want Pakistan to stop doing these things, we first have to deprive it of the benefits that it gets from using proxies as tools of foreign policy. Second, we, and I mean we, in the sense of India as well as the United States and the larger international community, have to develop the scrotal fortitude to develop the tools to punish Pakistan and also to apply those tools to punish Pakistan. I've been appalled. I'm very glad that the Republicans, and I'm a Democrat, by the way, have raised the issue of how Pakistan's going to pay for the F-16s, whether it's going to be through their national funds. Pakistan has no national funds. It's our funds laundered as national funds, or whether we're going to just, not allow the lie to happen. Well, it's just FMF, foreign military financing. No one has said Pakistan doesn't need F-16s at all. They've taken $33 billion of our dollars, and all of our troops in Afghanistan that have been killed by the Taliban, which is Pakistan's proxies. And yet we're debating, shall we just give them the F-16s outright, or have a charade where we give them the plausible deniability they're actually paying for these F-16s themselves? So am I pissed about this? Oh yeah, I'm really pissed about this. And I'm sorry for my vernacular. I'm not sorry at all. I'm pissed about this. All right, so there are two groups that we really need to pay attention. Obviously, we know about Jamaat al-Dawa, Lashkar-e-Taiba, whatever new name it's going to reintroduce itself under in the near future. Most of you think of this organization because of external utility, right? Its ability to perpetrate attacks in India or in Afghanistan. I want you to appreciate the domestic utility of this organization. So the book I'm working on now is Lashkar-e-Taiba in its own words, so it's very similar to the Pak Army book. I'm using Lashkar-e-Taiba's publications as the evidentiary base for the book. They are the only organization in Pakistan that opposes sectarian killing. They are the ones that oppose the Deobandi logic that Falana organization are munafiqeen. So from the Pakistani state's point of view, not only is this a very disciplined killer outside of Pakistan, it serves a very important domestic function. It's not a coincidence that when the earthquake most recently happened in Balochistan, all other organizations to provide relief were not allowed in. FIF was allowed in. And the paper I'm working on now that looks at Baloch attitudes shows that the war that Pakistan has waged by inserting Islamist proxies into Balochistan has had effects on the